This is TWiT.
You were so excited when iBooks came out. You thought that
I could see what was possible.
Yeah, that desktop publishing, and people be able to make beautiful books, and it just died on the vine. And do you think it was Apple's fault, or was whose fault was it? It was Apple's fault.
Yeah, it was Apple's fault. What
did they do wrong?
So number one is they went to traditional publishers to build the test cases.
Big mistake.
So they went to people who don't understand the new. They don't
never go to the incumbent to tell you how to use the next new thing.
So Pearson gave them a bunch of books that had some videos in them. Like it was not and so what they should have done is taken the folks that made Elements, the app. Those are the people that you give $1 billion to and say build a bunch of stuff and let people see what it is, because Elements, the app on the iPad app, Elements that is what's possible. That's the beginning of what's possible. Right. And so
but wait, I would say that was high on the cool factor, but it wasn't deep. So you got each element in the periodic table. You could see it. You could rotate it. Yeah, but you couldn't do chemistry experiments with them. I mean, it's just the beginnings.
Not yet. Yeah. But if you think about having, the problem with it is that they had to write an app to do that. They couldn't do that in iBooks. So Elements was something
I didn't know that.
Requires. Yeah. So it was an application because those tools weren't available. And so the issue is that they need to make it so that it's easy to make an app. Like if they made something that's easy to make that, you end up with an entirely new publishing thing, and then you have to push money into it to publish it. I mean, Apple needs to spend billions on content that proves to people that this works, and that this is interesting, so people can see that. Because what happens is they need to see the test, they need to see the demo, and so the thing is that iBooks didn't go to interactive publishers or people who understood interactive. They went to old publishers and said, well, we want to show people a textbook, so show us a textbook in this. But that's not, still way too many words. Anyway, so the idea though is that, and then they didn't fuel the system, and they didn't make it easy enough to build, whiz bang things. Now, what we've seen over the last decade is, Keynote getting better and better and better and more smoothly able to build a lot of different kinds of content. Pages being able to now, Pages has like 80% of iBooks built into it. And so those are a lot of things that are starting to build up. And then you start to see USDZ showing up over at InMotion and Final Cut. Well, that's eventually going to be everywhere, right? I mean, right now I can text you a 3D model like that I shot with my iPhone 12. I can just digitize something and send it to you, and when you open it up, it will pop out in front of your. If you have an iPhone, even an older iPhone, if I text you a USDZ model, you can actually pick it up and look at it in 3D. Now, so what we're on.
Alex, I'm always trying to figure out if you're a visionary or a fanboy, because
he's just saying Apple.
I'm already doing that.
I know, but you can do it. But does anybody want it? Is the question.
Okay, well, I mean, so the thing is that. Where we're going to get to, like with objects is do I know whether that couch looks good in my house? Amazon right now has an army of modelers that are betting on that happening. So one of the big problems you have in buying furniture, buying other things like that, is not knowing what it's going to look like when it gets here. Now you can tell, because with LiDAR, when the phone has LiDAR, it means that it can scale it automatically. So I can put a car in my living room and see exactly what it looks like. I can move it all around. I can look at it close up. I can back away. More importantly, I can send you a brochure that lets you pop open, pop out the thing into a model. And that helps us. Like, I know that when we want to pre-visualize a space, we LiDAR it or we build it in SketchUp or whatever, and now we can make all of that work. And so it'll start in very interesting areas like that. But for education, imagine being able to take any object I want to show students, and all of them have access to that, at that moment, and they can rotate it around. They can talk about things, and more importantly, I can annotate
just announced. That's what Mesh. That's one of the things Mesh can do.
Sure,
and even even the students at home can see that.
But they have to have a HoloLens.
Yeah, well, hey,
not a phone.
Life's
so
not perfect.
Yeah, so
actually, they don't have to have a HoloLens. It works with the Quest 2, which is cheap.
They're all going that way. I mean, but the big thing is that there's going to be a lot of things, like even just being able to pick up my phone, and we've already done tests for this. We've scanned an arena, and so. The big thing is like where we're going with like ultra wideband. So ultra wideband will get you to a couple centimeters. So I don't know, 10 or 15 centimeters, 6 to 10 centimeters, something like that. So you can know basically where your phone is. What that does is it reduces the database that you have to search. I'm simplifying it, but it reduces the data it has to search within that building to only that 6 to 8 inches in 360. Then it matches objects in that real world to the phone, looking for them. At that point, the phone, this is why privacy is so important. One of the reasons privacy is important to Apple is the phone knows where you are and where you're pointed to less than a millimeter. So it is completely locked into where you are. Now, what I can do is I can start adding stuff. And the most important thing to add in an arena, where's the bathroom? Like I'm looking for the bathroom, and where can I buy hot dogs? And have big arrows appearing to tell you where to go and how to get there. But it could also imagine.
But am I going to buy a device just so I could find the bathroom in the stadium or the hot dogs in the stadium?
You're not going to buy a device if it's on your phone. If it's on your phone, you just pick up your phone and look through it and just say it. Hey, where's my?
So in other words, it's something we already have already.
No, it's something. That's the big thing is that you don't have to buy anything new. It's just your phone that will tell you where to go. 65 million people have bought these, already. And so the thing is I pick it up and it shows me where those things go. But I could also reskin the entire arena for Elton John this week and Taylor Swift the next week. Yeah. Where when you look through it, it's not just telling you that, but there's a whole little world and there's things to play with and there's things that you can do and those are the kind of things. And the I'm not paying for that as a user. It's part of my ticket that I pay for. Like the way that like Taylor Swift will give you those little bracelets, those little light bracelets. Those are $8 each. And when you pay $156 for your ticket,
you get one of those.
You get a bracelet.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole
modern concert. The projection systems, we've talked about this before, at these concerts allow them to do amazing things with scenery and set.
Right. Well, imagine if eventually HoloLens or whatever comes out, and it's small enough and light enough that you can wear them in a show, you'll have entirely different experiences. And again, walking into a museum, and now you can annotate everything in the museum in 3D, telling you all the things about it and playing audio for you and everything else, and you just pick up your phone and look at it, and it's going to tell you those things.
I remember when they said storytelling is going to be completely different. This is like 20, 30 years ago, because you're going to be choose your own adventure. It's fully interactive. You could, but nobody who creates stories wanted to do that. It just didn't.
I don't think choose your own adventure. I think it's a horrible idea. I mean, I'm not saying choose your own adventure. I'm talking about
I understand, but I'm just saying you got to get
ideas.
Creators who are able, right now, Steven Spielberg's able to tug at every possible emotion on screen. You need to get people like that, won't be Spielberg, obviously, but the next generation, like that, to take these new platforms and create content that is equally immersive. No?
I don't think you need to. I think you should need to get Home Depot and Amazon and other folks to use it as an educational titles and sales materials and for all those other things. There's so much. You don't have to go after.
Well, eventually, though, if you want that.
Sure, but we'll figure it out organically. Okay, but I don't think that. But we're talking. There's 10 years of not. There's 10 years of not having to worry about a narrative.
Yeah.
Narrative content.
No, I agree.
Like you could do this for 10 years.
That's the last thing that
understanding
happens.
It. And the problem
just the Gettysburg thing you described is sufficient to jumpstart this.
Gettysburg, if they did that, they would make millions a year by people paying $20 at the tourist. Right. They'd walk in and you buy the Gettysburg experience.
They already sell the headsets. Why not just sell a VR set? But what we need is cheap VR sets.
Yeah.
Or AR. Again, cheap AR.
Where a lot of this tends
I'm
to.
not holding up my phone to do that. Go ahead, Danny.
Where a lot of this tends to fall down is that's lovely. It's going to cost a lot of money to create these experiences for that Gettysfield battleground. They also need to upgrade the bathrooms. They also need to make sure to say, well, here's a bottleneck for people coming through to simply get to the battlefield. We need to make sure there are more guest services. We need to make sure that we have content that's available to people of every language and every physical ability that they possibly have. And these basic, simple things that apply to everybody are almost always going to take precedence over really great ideas that involve people who have the right technology or can really appreciate that kind of stuff. When you're talking about iBooks, the biggest fault that Apple had there was that essentially they came to Pearson and said, "Hi, we want you to spend a good deal of money to help us sell iPads. Like, wait a minute, but you don't have airtime? No. See, if you create content that can only run on our iPad, it'll make everybody know how wonderful our iPads are. It'll help us to sell more iPads to schools and to educators. Like, but what's in it for us? Well, not much, but we'll sell more iPads. This is the,
I'd be surprised.
This is the large problem that you have to kind of deal with. That you have to make sure you can't assume that everybody has the right phone to run this sort of stuff, and you have to make sure that whatever content you're asking all these facilities to create, even if it is sort of a side pocket thing, that it is not going to be locked to any one platform, past, present, or future. You sure as hell aren't going to tell them that we want you to invest in, again, money that could be put into better guest services, better bathrooms, or even a hot lunch program for our disadvantaged kids, and say we want to help you to sell iPhones because this thing that we're proposing will only work well on our VR headset or on our iPhone set.
So. But that's not how you do it. You take the people who say yes and then you pay for it as the platform, like Apple pays for it. Like the Gettysburg experience is not paid for by Gettysburg. The Gettysburg experience is paid for by Apple. That's what they need to do. They need to spend the money on doing that and then making it available even for free or for a low amount of money because they're trying to prove the model. Because what happens right behind that is a whole lot of other work. You create that test. Yeah. You prove that business model. I mean, so. I've done a lot of work doing that. I mean, when we did the Hangouts launches, what I was paid to do was prove it was paid for. Those Hangout launches were paid for by Google. The Facebook Live stuff was paid for by Facebook.
Right.
And so the thing is that it is so the thing is then a whole bunch of people hired us to do it for them because they want to. No one wants to be caught being the. No one wants to be caught falling behind. It's the whole Clubhouse thing. It's the whole whatever. And so what happens is suddenly there's a lot of really cool content that excites people on a platform, and you launch it. But the companies that do that spend millions of dollars doing examples that build up the demand for it, and then everybody else starts jumping into it. None of these things get paid for by just putting it out there and hoping people use it.
I'm starting to become John C. Dvorak, and it'll never happen. I don't buy it. It won't. Yeah, I love the vision. I think that's great, and I think Apple clearly sees that as somewhere that they'd like to go, and they see it. Yeah, you could do it on the phone and the iPad right now, but they see it as a thing that you do with eyeglasses, and that may be years off. I have to say, I mean, I remember. Look, for $25, you can go to eBay and buy a virtual tour of the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay on CD-ROM, right? Remember when CD-ROMs came out, everybody started doing all of these?
CD Interactive.
Yeah, and we thought this would be like the next big thing. And it just...
As kids, you would press the button and it would rotate in front of you. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah, but the tech is, I mean...
It was just not good enough. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I'm doing a lot of R&D on this.
I have to defer to you because you have more experience that you can't even talk about making these experiences. So
the tech has come a long way. Back then, you could barely rotate something around, and now we can push. So right now, the iPhone can handle about 2 to 3 million polygons. Now, when I was doing games, the 2 to 3 million polygons at 30 frames a second is about what we're testing at right now. That's a lot of data. Like we can do a lot, and if we drop it down to, down into the 500,000, million polygons, which still looks really good. We're getting incredible frame rates and so on and so forth. And so the thing is that stuff is pretty exciting. And when you pop up, especially when you start taking photogrammetry, where you're taking photos and you're turning into 3D models that look very realistic, you're just amazed that it's in your house, and being able to do it. And I think that, I feel bad for. I do feel bad for a lot of the school systems that are buying all these Chromebooks because, when this stuff hits in 2 to 3 years, when this hits, all the schools that invested in Macs and iPads and everything else are going to be doing stuff that is incredible. And the other, other school systems are all going to be stuck with Chromebooks. And they all had the money right now to buy them because of all the money that's coming in. And so... Really. Well, we'll see. We'll see how
Andy and I are skeptical, but I would never bet against Alex Lindsay either.
No, I'm just saying that people are the reason why school systems are buying Chromebooks is because they're best suited for purpose.
Yeah,
they're not. They're issues that they need this hardware today, right now,
today.
And for those issues, an iPad just ain't going to cut it.